So, good morning and warm welcome to all of you. This is Advocate Mrs. Raina Khatri Tandon, welcoming all participants at wonderful college at GLSU. Uh, a very warm gratitude. Thank you to Dr. Mayuri Pandya, who's the governing person, the college principal, and also to Dr. Payalji, who has introduced me and welcomed me here. I welcome each one of you for a warm welcome to this session of POSCO and how sexual harassment and abuse exist even today in COVID times. So, let me just quickly ask you now that we are here, me being the founder of Right to Rise, we work ethically in creating safe, compliant, and dignified workspaces. Right to Rise believes it's India's top five organizations who believes in growth. It believes in skill building. It believes in creating ethical workspaces in universities, colleges, and also in organizations so that each and every sector, each and every category of people, whether they are new interns, whether they are law students, whether they are college students, whether they are societal people, whether they are people working into organizations at mid level or at senior most level, we look at how this major criminal offense, which we can call sexual harassment, can be curbed to the T. And today we are here to see how, in spite of we being in COVID times, now we are at this lockdown period where we see that there are crises occurring. Let me put it this way: in every crisis, there is an opportunity. So I can only say one thing is that with every day we grow, we need to start making our environments more conducive. We need to start bringing in an environment where the rights of our government, the conventional constitutional rights of the child, the rights of a woman, the rights of everybody who's out there are being respected. The rights are criminally offenses are avoided to a limit that we as a person, if we do our rights and if we do our responsibilities well, we would actually not even need to an extent of going into law and order. So, I, being a legal practitioner in this field, I have experience of about 20 years, working also as a mentor. Let me introduce myself, Mrs. Raina Khatri, who's a certified human rights professional from EDX Harvard. I am also working as a legal practitioner in many organizations, gender cells of colleges and universities in the areas of POSH and POSCO. We also cater to skill building programs from awareness sessions to certification programs to going into IC skill building, um, enabling and empowering the VPs and the college heads on how these aspects can be brought into the setup and creating a more dignified, respectful environment, avoiding any kind of harassment, bullying, any kind of undertaking of children. uh, Maybe it's trafficking, maybe it's hacking down, maybe it's cyberbullying. So, very essentially, today we are here to see how all these different aspects, which even exist today, can be curbed, can be stopped at the root level, at the first level itself, so that it doesn't even need to go up to the next level where we need the lawyers and advocates to plunge in, because it being COVID and we having offices shut, of course, we have our courts and law and order always running. But if you have to support the legal system, if you have to become an essential part of the legal system, my friends, it is very important that we play our role and our responsibility as a citizen to the best of what we can. So, without giving a delay, let me ask you, as wonderful participants, today we are here on a session of how sexual harassment, how POSCO plays a very important role and is existent to some level in India and different countries. even during COVID times, even during this digital world, we are still having a lot of abuse happening online, having happening face to face, even in our own setups, maybe in our own environments, and we are not able to fight it. So, what do you have? What do you have in your minds? What do you think? Does this still exist, and are you able to see this around you? If you can, in some form or the other, if you can just write a chat box yes or a no, then that would help me to understand that what are the scenarios and where do you think this is really existent. Okay, so we can chat in a yes or a no onto the chat box, and that helps me to understand yes it exists or no it doesn't exist or I haven't seen it, or uh, what you see in today's world. Okay, so by the time you're doing that, I'll probably get on to the screen sharing of our PPT as well. Okay, so we'll go directly into the PPT. I can see some of the people who are there who are giving me some responses. And yes, we do accept the way the responses are going. There are various times where we see COVID times to become abusive. We see most of the platforms that we are on. Earlier, there was days when we had one-to-one conversations on the call with the clients. We were looking at cases on one-to-one level. We were looking at customers and participants coming to us with cases. Now, since we are in this lockdown period, we see a transition of from the virtual world into the digital world. So here we are there to welcome you on how even today this harassment, this abuse, this bullying can be curbed to a great extent, especially keeping in mind the POSCO law, which is prevention of sexual offences against child, which can be curbed in. So warm welcome to all GLS Law College students and professionals. Let us look into how we can go ahead and set the objective of our workshop. So, the main objective of our workshop is going to be looking into how participants can go to express themselves, a realization that yes, I am undergoing sexual harassment, the realization that yes, being a child, we need to be more aware, we need to be more awake, we need to keep on having a look at what's happening around us, bringing in the self awareness, bringing in the acceptance that there could be a different perception, a different angle to what we are at. I'm sure all of us are very busy in these days of lockdown. Some of us on the professional level, some of us on the personal level. But as a legal practitioner, as a person who thinks on the right of a woman, the constitutional rights of the child, it is important to acquaint all of us with the salient features of POSCO law, POSH law, which is prevention of sexual harassment, cyber law, which brings in more and more aspects of how today, being digital, we have so many other ways of how people are hacking you down. People are using this as a platform, but then we have even unwanted stuff being shared. We have bombarding happening between sessions. We have intruders and hackers. We have people who feel that sending down an email in form of a hacking tool can actually give all the data back to your person. So we need to understand that all these things are still around us. So we will see the salient features of the POSCO Act. We will enhance the people with POSCO e-box scheme. So, of course, the ministry and the government has had this wonderful, like we have for POSH, we have SheBox. For POCSO, we have e-box scheme where we can file or we can go up to the government online and we can give in the different aspects of where what we see as child abuse, as cyber abuse, onto the chat box, and the government has a means of getting the right person who can work on the convention of solving these cases. So, of course, even in lockdown period today, my friends, we have our law courts, we have our legal practitioners, advocates, high court judges, supreme court judges still working online. And thanks to the social media, thanks to the wonderful apps that we have, various online tools that we have by which we can connect, we can understand the different stakes at which each of our clients or each of our respondents or the people who are victims are undergoing this form of offense, and we are able to curb it, stop it to a particular level. But there would be certain things that we would not be able to stop. And so we are on the next point, which is creating awareness about child sexual abuse, creating awareness about cyber crimes, creating awareness on how children and youth who are there around us, around our setups, can be safe. And we, as an authority, so believe that we are the enablers, we are the torchbearers who can stop this. We will help and enable you on how to file a complaint, how to report to an authority, and also empathetic towards the people undergoing it. It is very important for each one of us to understand that when this situation occurs, I'm sure the victimized person or the abuser, both of them are doing it with some kind of so there's an intention for the abuser to do it, but there is a lot of childhood memories, there's a lot of unlawful activities which has happened in his prior life in due coincidence to which these occurrences happen. And the victim is also undergoing a lot of pressure, a lot of things in his mind. So we need to settle down and get to understanding the mindset of the person according to the POSCO law. So yes, I'm sure all of you are aware of the POSCO Act, but we will have certain sections, certain pointers which are more important, which are going to let us know how it is still relevant today in COVID times and post-COVID times, how we need to form a strong system to fight against it today. Okay, so let's look at the POSCO. Why are we talking about POSCO today? So as a legal person, as a practitioner serving many different organizational clients, many universities, colleges, NGOs, I have seen that even post COVID or even in COVID, there is no silence in terms of abuse or harassment or bullying, but it's become even worse. I have seen many more cases aggravating. Many of us are getting more disturbed, more anxious, more intensely aggravated towards the solution because apart from our schools, even our own home setups have become very hyperactive. The mental stability of an individual and of the child and the youth alongside both have been affected because we are not consciously working on ourselves. This is the time, my friends, we need to understand that if things are not happening on a professional level, we need to keep our mental stability on a proper control. We need to understand that our anxiety, our anxious state, our disturbance are many different forms of anger, frustration, um, giving it out, jutting it out. All those will affect the safety and security of children, particularly if the caregivers or the people who are looking after the children are perpetrators of the crime. So, I have seen more than 90% of the cases of POSCO, which is sexual offences against children, occur only by the people who are known to them and not by the people who are not known to them. So let's be aware, let's understand that reporting of these crimes, generally against the protection of children, is done by the people who know you. They could be your friends, they could be your relatives, they could be people in your own setup, they could be people who know you rather than any outsider who doesn't know you. So why POSCO came into effect was POSCO was a very strong act in spite. of our different laws. We had different laws. We had the Juvenile Justice Act, which was JJA, which was a consolidated version of having child rights. So, child human rights, along with what the United Nations set up as an abet for reporting procedure in case we had some kind of protection and care for child so that any ill treatment, any kind of abuse, harassment is to be avoided. So we had many of these child friendly approaches, but the Justice Juvenile Act did not give a strong provision for looking after children under the age of 16 or 18. It always focused on also one different aspect, which was about only women. Secondly, the IPC, whether it had sections, so IPC sections for the rape, for the molesticity, for the infringement of human rights, for the other aspects in terms of law and order, when we spoke of, only spoke of general overlook of how children can be supported and protected against this law. There was no strong act which worked even for male children. There was no act which worked even for male, female, women, and any other gender. There was no act which worked for all youth and children aged 18 and below. So, all those discrepancies were always there. No specific provisions or laws dealing only for sexual abuse. It was an overall abuse only in terms of penetration of sex. So, we had to get much more into this POSCO Act. So POSCO led to a very strong law, a very strong act, which was not only abuse in terms of penetration of any of the anal or urethra or any of the mouth to mouth organs, but it was also about sexual abuse. It was also about pornography. It was also about online harassing. It was also about dealing with sexual abuse of male and female and many other genders. Okay, so we need to understand that the next thing was not to stop these children. Most of these children, when they undergo this, they know what they are undergoing because a child's mental brain starts developing at the age of 6 and earlier, my friends. When a child is almost 2.5 years old, the brain of a child at the very meager level or at the start of the brain development of any child occurs after 2.5 years till about 8-10 years, by when he is almost having a decision making of an adult. So when the child is undergoing, whether it's a very small child or a youth or any person in the teens, we need to understand that more than 70% of the child abuse is generally done by a person who's known. And when this person is coming to tell you something, stay awake, be there, listen to them, be sure that you're able to be there for them. Do not shun them away. Do not hurt them, do not shout at them, do not curb them, do not push them away, do not readdress it. When they speak, at least give them an eye to eye contact, at least hear them out completely, listen to them, analyze them completely, speak to them and give them that power that you are there for them. When they don't speak, sense their unspoken words. When they are unheard or silent, try to sense what's happening behind them. I see most of the parents today being so stressed because of the lockdown. I see most of the calls coming to me. I also work with a lot, about 23 different NGOs pan India level. We work with also different organizations with regard to trafficked children, with prostitute and destitute children, with transgender. Right to Rise always believes in bringing up different children and women organizations and supporting them. We've also come up with our own foundation of RKT Foundation where we associate more and more people to do this enabling work of accepting these kind of children and helping them to evolve out of it. So believe me, when they are unheard or silent, my friends, you are the people who should be there. You, as torchbearers, should be empathetic towards the situation, should understand what exactly is going through the psychological state of mind of the child. Allow them to be in a care environment. Allow them to be in an open environment where they are allowed to talk, where they are allowed to hear, where they are allowed to speak, where they are not being judged, where they feel that even though we are law legal practitioners, even though we are contenders of the court, even though we believe that justice is to be given, the justice has to be given in such a subtle manner that today, children, youth, youngsters, and even any one of us, we understand things much faster than it is being spoken. It is necessary that we create those kind of setups where, without the knowledge of they being hindered, without the knowledge of they being encroached, we form those kind of juvenile setups, those kind of special courts, those kind of special environments with the support of parents, where we are creating a healthy, happy environment. We create a space of cyber usage, we create a space of app usage, we create a space of how these devices, the Wi-Fi's, the different app stores, the different online portals, the different banking apps, the different support systems in terms of payment gateways are to be done with great efficiency. It is very important. The existing laws which were there, why we wanted a separate law on child sexual abuse. Until 2012, we had Indian Penal Code in 1860, we had Immoral Traffic Act in 1956, we had juvenile justice care to take care of the care and protection of children. So we had separate setups also, which were child welfare units, child help support centers, which helped and stopped these kind of offenses. But IPC is very gender specific. It was only for a woman or a girl. There was nothing which was there to support a man. So IPC does not distinguish between consensual act or an act which is generally done. It did not give any separation between penal offences, or did not give any kind of distinguish between any act which happened by force or consensual or non-consensual, or whether it is intercourse based, whether it was only because of penetration. So IPC was a general covering act which was supporting this child abuse to stop. But until 2013, we came up that rape was a separate section, penetration of penis into vagina was a separate section. We had different offenses. ITPA also came up with cases of child constitutions. The juvenile justice care does not explicitly provide penal provisions. So we came up with a very strong act, and the cases which happened. So let's just give an overview. What were the different cases? Did we have cases which forced or which transcended into POSCO Act? Why did the Ministry of Child and Welfare, why did the care centers feel that POSCO should emerge? Because United Nations, of course, had set conventions for the rights of a child. We had rights of the child already. We had provisions of the Indian Penal Code covering the offences to be stopped against children. Yet we had cases. So there were some of the cases which are listed down here just for your broad mindset, that we had cases occurring even that time. We had section 292 and 293 which dealt with obscenity but failed to deal with online obscenity. So even now when we have certain cases of coming on the apps like Zoom, and there's suddenly a Zoom bombarding where somebody shows unwanted, unaccepted, unwelcomed act of probably playing a porn or playing a video or playing unwanted stuff, or even doing an act of probably showing some kind of sexually connoted parts. So this was the case Ranjit D. Udeshi versus State of Maharashtra. And under Section 1, the Supreme Court found that there was pornography which was still being shared as obscenity in the most aggravated form. Again, Section 372, we had selling of minor children for the purpose of prostitution. We had Section 376, Section 2 of F, which said punishment of rape when a woman who's raped under 12 years. The imprisonment for any woman being raped under 12 years was 10 years and more. But now there are amendments of this, and we have sections which are much more stronger, covering 18 years and below any woman who's covered. And we have more stricter fines, punishments, penalties, and even imprisonment for more than 15 years. So the law has got more stronger and stronger because, in spite of having these sections, 377, we had 67 beat under 20, which was information technology of online abuse of a child. So no form of physical pornography to be shown, transmitting information, giving facts and figures, probably enforcing people to share videos or share some kind of unrobing themselves or exploited content of a child, or even unknowingly sharing content of videography into the system. So these provisions were there. The sections did occur, my friends, but still there were various cases. There were almost millions and millions of cases. Statistics showed in 1860 that these Indian penal codes were not gender neutral, they were only for female, they were only covering some forms of sexual harassment and abuse. More than 500 children across 13 states in 2007. We had 12,500 students, 500 each from different states. So we had maximum of 12,500 and going over 13 states. Even globally, we statistics said that almost 85% of the child abuse cases increased, and there was no stoppage. Increased number of child abuse were about 33,098 cases in CSA during 2011. This increased to about 57,000 till last year in about 2018. So these were real facts and figures which we give you. And most of the cases, the abuser was a family member or a person known to the person. It was also noted that these NGOs were filled with these reported abused childhood adolescents people. And it was very sad to see that the childhood of many children aging from very young age to youth was being curbed. So, despite many of these provisions, it was not enough to stop child abuse, and so we came up to the POSCO Act, which is Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences. We had Child Act for below 18 years. Sexual assault, harassment, and pornography was to be stopped, which was the major role of how sexual abuse, harassment can be stopped with regard to children. So, children, of course, all 18 and below were being covered. In a broader view, the Sexual Harassment POSCO Act was an act to protect against sexual assault, harassment, pornography, any kind of offences therewith. It also had the Sexual Harassment Offences Act for 32 under 2012, and we had the various sections which listed down the human rights for the child. It gives the right to live with dignity. It also prescribed that we had set of standards that no child will undergo any kind of sexual abuse, no matter what come may. And at the same time, keep in mind that if anybody goes to the extent of doing any kind of juvenile criminal offense, then the matters would be so strictly taken that the criminal recordings, the proceedings, and um, any kind of justice to be done would be done with high level of severity. All these informations are to be kept highly confidential because children are the most vulnerable set of our society. So that was one more important thing. Causes of child abuse increased. So what we are doing now is we were trying to increase more and more awareness. We are trying to spread that POSCO Act is a part which needs to be known to society, to parents, to the people who are around us, to the college youth, to everybody who starts from the young days to the people who are enabling, because we have children growing over period of time of different sectors. There is necessary to protect them from any kind of disabilities, any kind of vulnerable moments, any kind of mental disturbances, any kind of abuse attackers, any kind of the sexual attacking criminals. See, enticing poor children is not at all something right. I think mostly why sexual harassment among child abuse happened, or why we are having a POSCO Act, is because most of the time this was being done with children who were not mentally stable when they were young. Sometimes people are being looked upon, and because of that, they grow into real time cases where people are really want to take the revenge back. Poor children who are not having enough food, enough, so they give fake promises. They try and get some kind of give and take policy. So you have this or that kind of a system. Indian society is also such a way that always the offender or the abuser is so strong most of the time that reports suggest the child was the most giving in society sector, and that is why he was being abused. So even though we provide enough support from the government, from the law, we are coming down to one basic fact. The taboo will only stop when we work at the ground level, at the foundation level of stopping this, my friends. Okay, so far we have been able to cover this much. I would like to ask if there are any questions. If they are, you can put it on the chat box for us so that we can always take it up as and when it's coming in, or we can also address it at the end, because addressing at the end would help us to support you in all ways of how this can be carried forward by you. Let's go to the key features of the POSCO Act. The POSCO Act is a gender neutral act. Both boys and girls were covered under this act. The definition had broadly not only described about rape and penetration, but also went into pornography, harassment, cyber offenses, and also any form of touching without sexual intent. So anything which is unwelcomed, which is unacceptable to a child, can also be covered under POSCO Act. The POSCO Act ensures effective justice. So today we have a very strong act that there is no way this can be compromised on the justice given to a child. It's a very strong act. Reporting cases are being taken strictly. Endorsements and amendments are being done very strongly, making this act a punishable offense to the law. Okay, so let's look at who can complain. So this can be done by anybody in the society. The act provides a mandate to go and report anybody you see, whether it's happening in your setup or you see it happening in any other setup, including any young child from say 0 to about 18 years. You can file it for both men and women. Both can be offenders also. It's not that only men do all the offense. So let's keep the perception open, my friends. As a legal practitioner, we need to understand that there can be different sides of the coin. There can be different ways we look at every act happening. It is important that the Special Juvenile Police Unit or the Indian Penal Code or the police officers who you go and file a complaint knows exactly what's happened. Under section 19 and 20, we talk about what's the knowledge we know, what has happened, what's the situation, who has undergone it. Everything should be given in writing. In case any personal or media or hotel or lodge is needed for him to be safe, we keep him away from the abuser and keep him safe. No information is being leaked out. All information is being kept confidential. False complaints with intentional humiliation or extortion can also be very wrong. So we look into the case, we stop the defaming, because if there are false cases, then there can be a backfire of these cases and their requirements on the occurrence of the person who's filed the complaint as a liability. So let's also understand special procedures. So when we talk about these special procedures, why are we going into so much depth of the POSCO Act? Is if we know and recognize these child victims, the first step is that these victims will not open up very quickly. These victims will be mostly quietened people. They need assistance all the time. You need to support them if they need to speak up or have a recording or given a written statement. A trial can only occur when there is a support of the law, the juvenile team, the child care unit, the parent, the person, the care center, the environment, special procedures for special courts, special form of justice for any of these offences are being taken care in terms of the POSCO Act. Provisions are given to make a comfortable environment without having uniform officers with comfort justice or judging people who are there as the people who are going to take over the criminal offense and give their hearings. So medical examination of the child is being done in case they need the support. So child abuse only doesn't happen by whatever we see as penetrative forms. It can happen mentally, it can happen physically, it can happen psychologically, it can happen emotionally, it can happen also through neglect. Sometimes abuse also happens by a neglected form, so people feel that they are encouraged to go and do something to the child because there is no support from the parental side or no support from the environmental side. So people see that this is the most easiest way to crouch this child and take advantage. So be aware, my friends, that if we have to stop it today, our duty as a parent, our duty as a professional, our duty as a teacher, as a educationalist, as a law practitioner, as a person who's running the institutions, colleges, is more. The young generation sometimes are not aware of things even happening to them. Let me give you an example. So many a times, even during sharing these transports, whether you go by the bus or the share autos, you see these people, they're mostly on their gadgets. And sometimes you never know when the other person goes over and lifts their hand over them, or they are kind of being finicky with them, or they're trying to add advantage to them. And the young generation feel that, this is something they don't even realize. In today's COVID times, I see many a times even children who are in the same societies are so comfortable with each other that sometimes in the play form or in the times when they are being very casual, there is a way that they cross their limits, and that's when you give the first sign of yes, I'm okay with anything happening with me. So, we as a parent, we as a system should start making people aware, should do more of these awareness sessions in different zones, in different society sectors to make our setups understand that this has to be told to the children. No matter of what age they are, it has to be conveyed to them either in the form of a drawing, either in the form of a written, in the form of a story, in the form of a youth a discussion in the form of a movie, in form of different forms of writing, journaling, movie, picturistic, mind maps, design forms, or even bringing it in terms of news and write-ups which come on any article, magazines, newspapers. So it is very important you bringing these issues up so that tomorrow if something happens on setup, they are aware. The second thing is POSCO Act is so strong that if something happens, the burden of the proof is only on the person who's done it. So the accused is the one who needs to bring the proof around and show that he is not actually guilty. The second thing is we need to be very safe and secure. So period for recording of the evidence also is given over a period of longer time, like 30 days. Then the court provides all kind of provisions of how we can make this cognizance occur more smoothly without delay. So there are special care and provisions given for these kind of setups. Some of the principles under this act. So this is very important to be known. It is the basic human right and the need for everybody to have all these rights. Principles to be followed in pre-trial and principles which we follow all throughout for child and women rights and now even for the men under the POSCO. So every gender, every sector is being covered and is capable of having right to life and survival. The best interests of the child are being taken care, the right to be treated with dignity and compassion, right of protection from discrimination, right to self, special preventive measures, right to be informed, right to be heard and express views, right to be effective assistance, the right to privacy, the right to protect from hardship, right to safety, and right to compensation. So, having known these rights, I'm sure as a student, as a layman, as a societal person, as even a law practitioner, or even many a times I see firms having people who are practicing law, people who are into different setups like dentists and entrepreneurs, SME setups. Um, Even many of them don't even know their basic rights and the rights of the child. We need to know that these are important, justified, and important constitutional rights given and blessed to each one of us, and we need to make use of them before even we go to getting help from the other parties. But yes, as a setup, as Right to Rise works, there are many different setups alongside us who believe that to have this justice given to each and every person, it is important that you follow these so that we can gain all these rights to each one of us. The list of offenses, so I'm just giving you a broad overview that in case there are criminal offenses, in case there are cyber offenses, in case there are child offenses, in case you see people who are suffering through that, it's not going to be easy because the sentences are become even more, the fines are become even stricter. So just to give you an overview, you can have a look whether you have a penetrative sexual assault or whether you have an aggravated sexual assault or you're even just sexually harassing or pornographic, there is a rigorous imprisonment from 3 years to about 10 years and more. And of course, everything has its own fine and punishments. Special provisions are also given. Like I said, we appoint special prosecutors, special state government provisions. Court gives breaks to the child. A special room with a toilet and comforting zone is being created so that child can be overcome of this kind of offense quickly, and the charges made on the accuser are being proved quickly so that he can be free from the establishments of speedy trial can be done. Uh, just to give you a little more deeper introspection, there are special provisions. The judges should speak very softly when they are dealing with children. The tone of authority matters. They should be polite, a language that the child understands. Sometimes we need interpreters and parents whom they are comfortable with. Keep them in an appropriate association. Don't make them feel that they are under law and justice. Communicate with figures, drawings, like I said. Questions should be very simple, short, grammatically. Language should be very nice. Simple tenses should be used. Recording and writing down the statements is very important, having a view of the gestures. So let me tell you how it happens even today. So the plus of today is that yes, we are still operating as legal practitioners in POSH and POSCO, dealing with cases, solving them, and getting them to be justified. But yes, sensing them over online media could be a little difficult for you to sense what the person is feeling. Yet, digital equipments, different Zoom platforms and WebEx platforms and MS platforms and a lot of other confidential platforms are being created where we can come on face to face with the client, but we cannot help them to that extent. So I would say the best way to support them first is to be supported with their own environments. Be present for them. And once you feel that something is really going wrong, then you can set up a meeting with a legal practitioner like us, get special support from people, child welfare units, help centers, psychologists, child activists. So we work as human rights activists and with child and women. So working with these kind of people will help you to enable and bring your child out of that grievance, bring your child out of that trauma which it's going through. So unless and until it's a very serious offense where you see and you really want to go and file a complaint against somebody, you can reach out to National Commission of Protection of Child Rights. We have a POSCO e-box with the ministry, and I'm sure every state government have their own e-boxes also. You can click on the button, you can send the details, the pictures, the options, and get an acknowledgement that you are registered with them. That's simple. So let's closing out to some of the cases. So these are cases which are being noted in the last few months. Yes, These are cases of just before COVID, in COVID, and happening still. Some of the cases which I'm still telling you, let's look at this. So, revenge porn in Australia, the law only is effective till the law enforcement. So, yes, we do have some loopholes that, as law and legal practitioners, we can only go to some extent. But if there are cyber crimes happening on social media, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, the most occurring places of where any kind of cyber social kind of criminal offenses occur is on social media. We can have people going on Instagram, Facebook, mobile apps. We can have people going on gaming apps. We can have people going on banking apps. We can have people receiving emails from junk emails from servers which are being tapped. So these servers have particular messages which go in that you are being selected as a political association, or you have not filled in your bank details, or you've not submitted your bills, or you've not done this, and then click on that. The minute you click, the data has been shared to this remote computer which is on a particular setup which collects all your data. So please, 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 first see when you get these kind of mails, when somebody tells you, oh, I know that you might get a junk mail, you might get a threat mail that, I have some pictures of you being without clothes or without unrobed. So try and see from where the mail is come. The from portion of the mail is very important. Do not get into the mode of getting hyper anxious, becoming worked up, trying and responding to it, becoming fearful, becoming shameful, because there could be situations where you, under a playful way, you have approached something, but you might get back those images into your brain and you might act very crazily. So there was a lady who did the same thing, and she got these messages from her boyfriend in Australia. And most of the prone people who are getting into these kind of cyber offenses is people between 16 and 64. So she got this message from a friend, and the friend said that, your boyfriend is sharing some kind of pictures about you. She never believed it, but when she saw that happening on YouTube and social media, then she came to know that he had done it without her knowledge. But by then, I think the rights of the person had already been curbed on, infringements had already happened, and it was very difficult to take back things. So even though we have a lot of statistics from RAINN, which is a very from WHO, from any kind of gender equality statistics from Poland, Finland, even in India, you can see Mumbai has two cyber cases last week where the profiles of two young women on social networking websites were being converted. So their entire social profile, I'm not going to say whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or any other social website, but their entire social networking site was replaced by an obscene material. So, I mean, yes, it takes some time to get them prosecuted, and sometimes we fail to get evidence, but everything cannot be tapped, everything cannot be worked along, everything cannot be detected. Law can only go to an extent of getting material down and hacking down with certain instances, but everything cannot be explicitly got. So defaming cannot be done immediately. Some pictures and videos cannot be fully gotten. Cyber stalking, pornography sharing, cyberbullying. Nowadays we have some form of Zoom bombing. So hacking was way in the news, where some kind of child sexual footage or some kind of pornography, or some people unrobing, molesting, any kind of data which is not acceptable during sessions get also done. Another information which we should know is a very important information, that this was the statistics and this has increased over a period of time. So 2018 we have about cases registered with sexual harassment and child abuse going up to almost 40,000, and cases convicted were only around 3,000. Persons arrested were also less, and persons convicted are also going up. So let us stop. See, these are some of the hacks which we can see. Either social media profiles, fake profiles, email scans. We have people coming out to the messengers and showing, keeping a picture of a lady, but they might be a man. Keylogger attacks, some worms, some viruses, some matrimonial scams. Yes, so that is one of the things which is happening lately, that people looking out for their their spouses in terms of a male or female. Sometimes you have matrimonial scams also, which become great rackets of criminal offenses of young children, of youth. So start becoming aware, start becoming more prone. Even though ministry has its own website for child offences, even though we have child protection cells, we have juvenile cells, we have protection centers, child welfare centers, we have even the apps. Unless until you are not going to get aware on these things, it's going to become very, very difficult. Sometimes they even remove your entire handbook list and your data, because nowadays you have children being on school apps, the children being on fitness apps. Because of the fitness apps, sometimes in the fitness center itself, which is online, there are some unexpected data shared. So be aware of what's happening in your setup. Keep your eyes open with your children around. See the people who are known to you, unknown to you, the law setups, the societies, the online people they meet every day. Some of the statistics are also here for you. So perpetrators are generally 7% are strangers, the rest of them are acquainted people. So can you see, out of 100, there are only 7% who are strangers. Most of them are family members and known acquaintances. Cyberbullying becomes faster by email and then by Twitter, Facebook, through texting, kids bulletin online, school portals, both girls and boys chatting, and suicides of youth are also occurring because of that. So issues which kids are facing, yeah, they are having self-harm, their self-esteem goes down, eating disorders. Some of them become very quiet. Some of them develop depression. Some of them are very anxious, and they're sometimes they start wearing too many clothes even when it's very hot. Sometimes they are peeing the bed. Sometimes they are very upset. Sometimes they are not eating well. Sometimes they're having loose motions. Sometimes they are abusing and their addictions of alcohol or drugs or smoking. So start keeping these things in your mind to know that everything is okay with the people and with the with having known that we are all in this difficult time of COVID. We want to stop at least this form of abusement in youth, in children, and even in each and every adult who occurs, as a legal system to strongly stand and support each one so that we don't have any perpetrators, we don't have any victims occurring. Even trafficking can be stopped, which is a very, very small thing, but occurring at very high occurrences even today. So, coming to the conclusion, I think if we stop sexual assault, sexual bullying, catcalling, pornography to all our extent, POSCO Act is a great support system even in COVID times. And if we stop young, if we stop youth, if we stop our children having these occurrences, I'm sure we won't come up to sexual harassment, which is even a biggest criminal offense and occurring even today among our elders, among adults, among people in societies and environments. We are trying to create a better environment, the convergence of all the rights and legislations which are given to us. Let's fight this harassment together. Let's go ahead and share this value and create dignified societies. So that's it for me, Advocate Raina Khatri Tandon, from the founder of Right to Rise. And yes, you can connect to us on these numbers. Please do connect to us if you found value. We contribute to society together in our initiatives. So we also have RKT Foundation, we have Right to Rise, and that's Rana Khatri Tandon. You can find us on all social media handles: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Quora. You can connect us to any one of these names. I'm sure you can find Right to Rise and Rana Khatri Tandon. And I hope and I'm sure that together with wonderful college and with the kind of privileges of these kind of awareness sessions provided by Dr. Mayuri Pandya and Dr. Payal, we have enabled ourselves to so much of information and knowledge that we will go ahead and share it with everybody we know. So now we are open to questions, and yes, you can ask us questions.
Thank you so much, Raina ji. It
Thank
was
you so
indeed a
much,
nice
Payal.
session. We are receiving comments from our students and from the viewers that it was indeed very informative. More than asking questions or anything like that, they were so much into listening that what is actually happening and what had happened during this COVID, which nobody would have imagined or nobody would have thought. They were just
Right.
searching and trying to get information about it. We have few questions, though.
Yes.
One is from our student Ranak. She's studying in eighth semester. She wants to ask that what are your views on the Bhopal case of the 18-year-old girl? It is said to have happened during the lockdown. So, what are your views?
See, I can only tell you one thing, that each case has its own hearings. Um, every case is solved with the basis that we keep the rights and the constitutions. With whatever occurrences are happening, we may or may not agree with everything which happens. I do agree with one aspect, that the law and legal system is trying to solve everything. But when we say that we are not accepting certain happenings with regard to law and legal courts, there are various twists which we as legal practitioners come. So it takes some time for
Ma'am, your
the.
voice is unclear. Raina, ma'am,
Okay, yeah, I'm there.
excuse me.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, now it is clear. Your
Okay.
voice was breaking. We were not able to hear you.
Okay. So I said, with the case with regards to she what she's been asking, I think every case has its own positives and negatives. Every case has its own different
Can you just
perceptions.
repeat for a while, ma'am?
Can you hear? So I think there is some network problem. What I suggest is probably you can leave the questions and we can address the questions here.
Ma'am, still you are not audible. Well, Rena ma'am is just coming back. Yes, ma'am. Now you are audible. Now, please speak something.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. So can you repeat the question, Payalji?
sure. It is about the Bhopal case of 18-year-old girl. It is believed to happen during lockdown. So, what are your views regarding that? About the Bhopal case of
So
18-year-old girl.
yes, I know. So the 18-year-old girl in the Bhopal case, we just read about it, and of course, the legal practitioners down there are trying to do their best. But see, we may have different viewpoints on the same case. In lockdown, it is very difficult to even get all the witnesses and get all the victims to come over the hearing. The second thing is that sometimes we are so helpless that we are not able to get the right sources by which we can provide justice. So I'm sure that all of them are doing their best and they are trying to provide justice to this girl, but it will take some time. And yes, I'm sure this will happen soon. We are still yet to get to the right form of justice to this girl. But all I can say is there is no say in this moment of time, because lockdown is a very difficult time for both court, the law, the legal practitioners, and even for the victims. That's why I'm saying time and again that we need to work at the ground level, where we do our duties, and then the legal practitioners find it much more easy, because as an ecosystem we can be more stronger. We can work towards helping them, so that we don't go to that extent of where we are in this point. At this point, it is very difficult for us, without moving in and out of offices, without going and visiting the people, without visiting the victims, without traveling, everything is shut down. So it's not easy for anybody to give you a judgment. But yes, they are working towards it. So I have only that to say, that let's wait and watch for the best to happen for the girl, because it's not right what has happened with her, and none of us will agree with it. It's very sad that even during this time we are having these kind of occurrences, and many more, in fact many more happening even in our city, but people are not aware. So yes, that's the answer I would be able to give to her. Yeah.
Thank you, Raina ma'am. Now,
Yeah.
another question from Professor Vidhi. She wants to ask that do the victims get support once a case is reported in terms of legal representation, in your views?
Yes. So it all depends on how old the age of the victim is. Okay, it depends if it's a very young person or it's a youth person. um, but yes, every person will get support. For example, there was a case which just happened a week back. This has happened with a very young girl who's only about 6 years old. Okay, and she's been molested by her own uncle. Very sad to say, but the parents have been gone back to a joint setup where all the elders are there and the uncles and aunts are staying together, because at this moment they felt that going back to from Mumbai to Rajasthan is better, where everybody is together. And unfortunately, within a week's time, we hear this news that in the because everybody's together, and in the happiness of everyone getting together, we didn't know that these occurrences are happening from very young time. This was the third time she has been raped from a very young age, and the parents found it very difficult to report this offense to us. And we have noted it immediately. We have also intimated immediately to our advocates, and we've also filed a petition against the Juvenile Justice Court. The court has also said that it will take some time for us to file the petition, because some days courts are not working, and these legal practitioners, all of us are working only without our uniforms, and you won't say officially, but unofficially we are working. But I think if it happens to any one of us, we will all be there. So I'm sure we owe this to our country if we are in this profession, that we are supposed to handle every case which comes to us, no matter it is 2 a.m. in the night or whether it is 6 a.m. in the morning. So at least I believe in that. I don't know about the others, but yes, we did take that case. So every case which comes to you, no matter it's a 6 months old child or it's a 85 years old lady, if it is sexual harassment, if it is sexual abuse, if it is harassment, bullying, if it is any form of cyberbullying, in fact, so 10-15 days back, I want to share this because you should hear this. So this was a case of an organization which came together to do training, and just like me, there's this lady who wears a sari and who's just there to do a session, and she didn't know that just before the session started, she didn't know there were other people who were there. So she, before she could press the live button and go live, she was already in the room, and she was trying to just get her pallu or a dupatta set. By then, there were already two people of the company there, and they started talking towards each other. They didn't realize that their mics are on, and they started commenting that so I'll tell that in Hindi. Say they said that ऐसा सीन तो बार बार देखने को नहीं मिलता. So since the mics were on and not on mute, and they did not realize that her she's able to hear it, and she did not realize that they were there, but they were all there together. Now, of course, the lady could have just left it like that, but then she was only an invitee to take a session. But she has taken this case very seriously, and she has not given in. They have given a written apology that they did it by mistake, and these were two youth. So specifically, when we have interns coming into an organization, the interns are college students, and they are not known with the seriousness of this crime. So whether it is POSCO or whether it is POSH, they feel that it's okay to give any kind of sexual comment. But now, since we are so vulnerable in this open society, our mobile numbers are so open to people. We are so open to giving our WhatsApp numbers. We need to get connected on media. We need to connect on WhatsApp. We need to connect on Zoom apps and WebEx and LMS Teams and GoTo Meetings and many other apps. So everything is very open and transparent. So people can just hack you down anytime. So even
Ma'am,
though there were,
considering the time,
yeah, so even though we had counseled them, we had asked their apology, they apologized, the lady did not give in, and it's gone into another calling of. getting into another appeal and seeing how this can be closed. But yeah, they have gone ahead for another proceeding. So yes, it will be taken as a serious thing now.
It should be.
Yeah, it
Okay,
should
ma'am,
be
considering
ideally.
the time constraint, last two queries, shall we just take up with your kind consent?
Yeah, so I think I just came in for all the people out here, and I've probably wanting to give my best value, and if they I just wanted to ask their value and get their questions solved. So I've had a great session here, and my concerns are only one thing is I can only appeal that if you so number one thing is that some sharings of the ppt and some learnings of what we've done today I have summarized, and I would love to share with each one of you. If you can connect on media, or if you can leave your email addresses, or however you want to connect, whether you want to leave your email addresses, I can send down the document to you, so that it will always be as something in front of your systems and in front of your setups, that this is how you can help. I can provide all the apps, I can provide all the connects where you can connect immediately if something happens. So this can be posted as a poster also, this can be kept onto your laptops also, this can be also kept as a document. So those will be sent down to you, so any of the students, any of the professionals, any of the college heads can send their email addresses. I don't know how they would be able to do that here, but if they want to put it on the chat box, or maybe you can send it down to me later as a list, I can send down everything to them, or they can connect on social media. Number two, our contact numbers and our name. So I'm Raina Khatri Tandon. You can find me. In case there's something, you can always reach out to us. And our company name is right2rise.in. So we already have a contact us. So in case there's something where you find a case happening or something happening to you, you can reach out to us other than the ministry e-boxes, or you can WhatsApp, and then we can see how you can take it ahead. But other than that, see, all I think is that if you are aware about your child, about your neighborhood, about your setup, about the school in which he's going to, because now everything is going to be digital. So I remember I have two boys, and they are also always on gadgets with school stuff. And they have all kinds of classes. I don't know, sometimes they have fitness class, sometimes they have music class, sometimes they have dance class, sometimes they have study class. All I know is that the environment should be conducive, the environment should be safe, they should be in a dignified environment. The principal and the school should follow a proper ecosystem of using, they use Google Hangouts. So is it safe? Am I having a look once in a way of things are going smooth? Is he with the right people? When he's probably, now that we don't have people meeting people, but we still have environments where some setups, some um, there are some societies where there are people walking down and meeting down, and I don't know all that. But if you have that kind of environment, please, 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 specifically children from 15 and above, you cannot control them, you cannot stop them. All I'm saying is talk to them very openly. You should start talking with your children as soon as he's 6 years old about all sexual body parts. What is sex? What is gender? What are the different genders? What is rape? What is molestation? What is good touch, bad touch? Is just a brief of what happens. You need to talk about all the terms and terminologies. They need to know about penetration. They need to know about urethra or anal or any kind of those body parts. They need to know. You can put it out to them in different ways. And if you need help there, we can probably guide you by doing a session on how that age group can be catered to. But if you're not going to bring that up in front of them, then you are calling in for trouble, because you don't know, they are more vulnerable and susceptible to this open environment. You don't know from where what is going to come. Okay, so I would just say that start working on your ecosystem, and if everybody works on their system to be working efficiently, if we as so today, Dr. Payal and Dr. Mayuri have taken this initiative that all the children, all the professionals, all the professors, all the people who are there, including the didis and bhaiyas and everybody who support in your system, even if they know about this, they're hearing about this, they should be knowing, they should be sharing, you should be putting articles in your magazines, in your newsletters, so that everybody who reads about this knows at least the basics of it. And if they are going to do their part of it, I'm sure all of us are not even required. We are just there for a namesake. But yes, if we need any information how, why, where, or we want to support, like we've started RKT Foundation for the reason that we want more people who really want to support in this, like counselors, like support systems, like people who are educators like you, come and be a part, come and support, come and be a part of events, come and help people even in talking out to them, listening to them. That's good enough. We are all doing things together. That's it. So that should work, and every person has the right to rise. So that's why our organization is also Right to Rise, because we feel that these things can't stop you down or put you down. You have the right to speak up, the right to fight against something which is not right happening to you. So yes, thank you so much for having me here, and it's been a pleasure uh, sharing all the value I had in today's session with Dr. Payal, Dr. Mayuri, and Lovely Law College. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raina ji. Many questions are coming up right now also, but I
Yeah,
think due to time constraint, we will not be
you
able to
can you
take up.
can uh, you
As
can
you
put
said,
these questions on the YouTube chat, and I will
definitely.
address each and every question on the YouTube chat, and they will get all the answers. Even otherwise,
Ma'am, we are
I think I
already
put my
live on the
details.
YouTube right now. It would be there
Yes,
on YouTube as well. I'll share it with you. And as you said,
yes,
you can share your detail. I mean, I'm already having your email ID and the details. With your permission, with your consent, I'll be sharing it with the
please.
students, those who wish to connect. And I'm so happy from this platform to share that one of our students named Nandini Hirani,
Okay.
she got selected from the Swabhiman it was a debate competition. From that platform she got the chance, and she is now one of the members who would be directly talking with the politicians and the law framers regarding
Amazing.
POCSO Act.
Awesome. That's amazing. Proud of you, Nandini. Now that's awesome. That's great to hear, Dr. Payal. I'm proud of the university and students, and it's a bravo moment. Awesome. I'm really
Thank you
proud
so
of
much,
this.
ma'am. And
Good to
we
hear.
are also having legal aid clinic. Miss Vidhi, Professor Vidhi is also connected with us. We are also
Okay.
having legal aid clinic, ma'am, and we would love to have many activities with that under your guidelines, as
Absolutely.
you are working at national level, international level on this POSH and POCSO. So, ma'am, we would like
Yes.
to be connected with you for the same.
Amazing. I think it would be a long association with you, and we really look forward to all these people who you have mentioned as great enablers. And I really am very thankful and very happy that I was able to be a part of it. So awesome to be with you, ma'am. And it's great that we were able to do this session and bring up wonderful torchbearers even on your side. So thank you so much for
Pleasure is
having
all
me.
ours,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you
Thank you.
so much once again on behalf of GLS Law College.
Thank you,
So
GSL.
that's it, ma'am. We are just ending the broadcast here. Thank you
Thank you.
once again.
Thank you, GLS. Thank you, Dr. Payal. Thank you, Dr. Mayuri ji.